Alaska's just a wild place, man.
Iditarod is a magical word, not only in Alaska, but also in many other parts of the world. It is a word that raises different images and emotions in different people. Dorothy Page moved from New Mexico to Alaska in 1960. She became the president of the Wasilla-Kinnick Centennial Committee in 1966 and was in charge of coming up with an event to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the purchase of Alaska from Russia. In her own words, she wanted a spectacular dog race to wake Alaskans up to what mushers and their dogs had done for the state. Page enlisted the help of a local dog musher and kennel owner, Joe Reddington. The two sought to preserve the culture and sport of sled dog mushing and the Iditarod Trail. With a $50,000 purse, the two organized the first Iditarod sled dog race in 1973. That year, 22 teams finished the race. With the encouragement of Reddington, people have used the famous trail not just for dog sledding, but also to run, bike, and even ski. The Iditarod Trail Invitational was founded in 2002. It entices fat bikers, skiers, and ultra runners to challenge themselves in a 150-mile race to Rainy Pass Lodge on Putilla Lake, or there's the 350-mile race to McGrath, and then there's the ultimate distance. This is the story of the 2019 Iditarod Trail Invitational and some of the souls who attempted the 1,000 miles to Nome.
The Iditarod Trail Invitational race is a very special place. The Iditarod Trail is a historic place also. It's an overland journey that you can only do in the wintertime when the trail actually exists. It doesn't exist in the summertime. There is no trail. There is sections of the trail, but in its entirety, it does not exist in the summertime. It's marshy areas, it's lakes and frozen rivers, so the route doesn't actually exist in the summertime.
The Iditarod National Historic Trail is composed of the Gold Rush Trail Network, which connects Seward in southern Alaska with Nome in the northwestern part of the state, cutting through the Iditarod Mining District. The 1,000-mile trail was constructed by the Alaska Road Commission from 1909 to 1911. This is considered the primary route, but in fact there are hundreds of miles of land and water routes branching off of this main artery. They connect villages, roadhouses, and small sleeping cabins in western Alaska.
It's the ultimate prize in our sport. Most of us never get the chance to attain the ultimate prize in our sport. I'm never going to play for an NBA title. I'm never going to swing a racket at Wimbledon. Those are the equivalent to what 1,000 miles to Nome is. The finish line here, if you can make it, there's nothing after that.
For me, I'm really curious. The curiosity is what drives me a lot to do this sort of stuff, because I'm curious if I have the nous and the mind power to be able to do all these little details daily, day after day, hour after hour, when I'm fatigued and tired and worn down on calories, and get it right. And be able to get to the end. When I get to Nome, and I'm really hoping when I get to Nome, I'll know that I've done all these chores and all these little duties and work along the way, and I've done it properly and I've done it correctly and I've done it competently. And if I don't make it and something happens, then I'll have to investigate myself and say, why did I allow that to happen? Because really, the other thing I like about being out here in the backcountry of Alaska, it's up to you. It's not up to anybody else, it's just up to yourself.
As hard as I can.
We talked about this. We said some of these places that we are going, nobody's ever touched foot in this spot. And you don't get that. I mean, you get it some places, but up here it's almost everywhere. You don't see power lines anywhere. You don't see power poles. You don't see light poles. You don't see nothing. It's all wilderness. And it's just so cool.
Doing these long winter ultra races is like mountaineering on a bike, expedition style of biking. It's what I always liked. Self-supported, out of town, in the middle of nowhere, on a bike. I don't have a set plan. It's just to get to know. I don't have any special goals. Only one thing, just to finish. That's always my goal, just to finish.
I just remember being excited to get to the pre-race meeting, not for any particular reason other than it just meant we were 24 hours away from the race starting. It meant 24 hours later you were going to be on a bus headed for Kinnick.
Hey Steve.
How are you?
Good, how are you? How are you?
Come on, reach it over. Good to see you.
Good to see
I'm
you.
excited for your getaway to Nome.
Yeah, I hope to see you there.
Yeah.
I'll be.
And the energy builds. There's certainly that as we're filtering into the auditorium for last instructions. You know, you probably hear 15 different times, shit's getting real now. Laughing, and there's definitely that palpable, all right, it is actually getting real now.
Welcome to the 2019 ITI.
So, who wants to just go right now? Let's just do it, right? We'll give you an hour to get your stuff. We're just gonna start.
It is actually getting real now. And Kathy and Kyle are just laying out the 1,000 miles in 3 different sections, because this year was the first year that they had a 150-mile race. And so they're explaining that for new people there, from there on to McGrath and shelter cabins and trail etiquette and things to possibly expect, look out for. And then, at least in my head, it seems like after McGrath, they just kind of, you guys and gals have been here before, kind of when you leave McGrath, good luck.
So is this where you look at everybody's bike and start second guessing you?
Oh, we did that last night.
You did that last night?
So I went and saw this bike and just sat, and it's like, he's got nothing on there. No, that's nothing. Okay, I got something.
Nothing on there. So I went back upstairs and pulled the front roll off here. Started taking stuff off my bike after seeing this one.
Well, see, it's funny. I did the exact thing because Katie gets up in my room. She lifts my bike and says, "You're not carrying enough. It's too light." So I started adding shit.
How you feeling, Grant?
Hey mate, feeling alright, got a bit of sleep, you know, had a big feed this morning. Yeah, slept pretty good actually. Put the earplugs in, you know. Unpacked my sled again this morning, checked if I could leave something behind, it didn't work. So that's what it is.
Put everything right back on, didn't you?
So
that's awesome.
That'll be alright, I'll use it all. I'll be glad I had it. Just ready to start now, you know, standing around thinking about it. So get out there in a few hours.
Wheel this on your side, Jill. Okay. Okay. Good.
I gotta.
We need the foot your way on the right, or on my way. Yeah.
Peter, how does our bikes always end up together, man? They become quite fond of each other.
Oh, right.
That's the place, Humpies.
Oh, it was earthquake.
Shackleton expedition.
One of those mushrooms for the Sharon run. His name was Cephala.
Space behind, extra space behind.
My wife's girlfriend.
I don't know what the temperature is. I have to look on my bike on my little thermometer, but I bet it's not 10.
Ready to roll. How are you
What's going through your head?
Oh man, I just can't wait to get out there on the trail, get it going.
And like, what do you envision? What are you thinking now?
I'm not thinking anything. This is a good sandwich.
I got a question for you. You're on foot, right?
Yes, sir.
Do I call you walkers or runners?
Well, you probably better not fucking call me a walker.
Checking the rope length.
After the start at Kinnick Lake, the athletes follow some well-used trails and roads until they reach the Yetna River. That's the first checkpoint, 65 miles in. After stopping to rest and refuel at the Riverside Roadhouse, athletes continue up the river to the Skwetna Roadhouse. There, the trail moves overland to Shell Lake, Finger Lake, and then to one of the more challenging spots known as the Happy Steps. Once over that climb, Pentilla Lake and Rainy Pass Lodge bring an end to the 150-mile race. For those souls, canine and human, brave enough to continue, it's a chance to take a break and get some needed supplies before continuing west, right over the top of the Alaska Range.
Woo! The starting line temperatures were perfect. In bluebird sky, the forecast was for maybe 5 or 10 degrees below. by the end of the evening. But the trail is not ideal to Yentna, which is, I don't know, 60, 65 miles down the trail. There's a lot of multi-use trail in there, snowmobiles coming through, all of those kind of things. So it gets, there's sections even right off the start where you're pushing your bike, not for very long. So if you haven't done your homework or you're not prepared, that can freak you out. You got to this section, you're like, this is gonna be soft. And you let the air out of your tires. Surprisingly, you would see a lot of people falling and or losing their balance and just getting back on and going 8 feet and losing their balance. It's quite extraordinary to see how even early on people mentally are fighting with acceptance. You're falling down, you let air out of your tires. If you're still falling down, you let more air out of your tires. And that's something you have to get really good at accepting, because it's going to happen a lot. And if you don't, then you just add this mental aggravation because you just keep falling. Somehow up here you convince yourself that it's more of a hassle to let the air out of your tires and be able to pedal for the next 3 hours and then have to pump it back up, which takes a minute, versus struggling for the next 3 hours with tires that are pumped too full. So depending on who you ask, the trail to Yentna Roadhouse was horrible. I didn't find it that way. It was exactly as it was supposed to be, other than it dropped to minus 27, which, again, if you do your homework, you know that if it says it's minus 10, then when you drop onto the Yentna River, that's minus 20, because it's always 10 degrees colder on the river, maybe more than it is just 8 feet, literally 8 feet higher on that riverbank. So if you fought your bike and didn't let the air out of your tires and were in that wrestling match and you were thinking that the 67 miles might take you 10 hours and now it's 20 hours and now it's 27 below instead of 10 below, and you're tired and you're still 15 miles away and you're freezing on the Yentna River on the way to the roadhouse and you're not comfortable using your bivvy, so you push on further than you want, then you're one of the 12 out of 79 racers that called it quits on the first freaking night.
Right after the race began, the film crew, that's Dave, had a burger at the Kinnick Roadhouse. He met his pilot, Ken, moments later, after Ken dropped his hand-built Piper Super Cub on the snowy lake right in front of the roadhouse. Dave flew with Ken along the Iditarod Trail, up the Yentna River, and landed at the Skwetna Roadhouse. That's where he met Cindy and her staff preparing for the overnight onslaught of riders.
Figure out what their name is, put their race number on here.
Okay.
Because every once in a while, not intentionally, a racer will wander off and forget to. Yes?
Yeah, I'm Jay.
Wow, fast.
Okay, so what's on the stove?
Chili. Lasagna, chili, and soup. Chicken
what kind of soup? I'll have a cup of soup first, please.
Cup or a bowl?
A bowl.
Oh, yeah, okay.
A bowl and a slice of bread or something, maybe?
Yeah, a roll. That means long rolls.
Hey Troy, welcome to Skwetna.
Yeah, thanks buddy. It's it was at 10 below out there, so yes, and it's quite moist as well, so yeah, a little bit challenging. I mean, you just got to focus on the systems. You just, just got to stop when you know you should. Keep food going in, keep water going in, keep your feet warm, just keep walking, and manage your body. You know, it's otherwise you're just gonna get messed up real quick.
This pie is really good.
6 a.m.
Did you make this pie?
No, my mother-in-law.
It's really good.
She does make good pie.
So did you stop at Yetna Station?
I had to take a minute there because my camelback was frozen. Like I had to kind of rearrange everything. So I took a minute to sort of like, all right, I gotta do some things differently. And I'm glad I did because this next leg was so much colder. In the laundry room, I mean, these locals are so amazing. They just open their homes to us. It's so nice. I mean, the dog's here. I'm in their laundry room. I took a nap in one of the bedrooms. It's just so cool. But you know what? If this trail went by my house, I would do the same thing.
For sure.
Sun's coming up. Everything's gonna be okay. For a little while. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, so confusing. Well, it says Shell Lake. I know that's where I need to go.
Have fun.
Thanks.
It's a cold night. It was cold. And I got way too sleepy. It was almost nonsense to keep going because it was just zigzagging and I was not really making any progress. So it was so slow. It was better to stay somewhere and get a little bit of rest, and get up in the morning. I was almost going to Bivy, but I found this nice trail lodge, and that was awesome. Stayed there for only like 4 hours maybe, but it was refreshing.
You're in the camp.
There's our boy. There he is. How do you know we were coming? Oh, good, Parker. Oh, right, we got trackers. I forgot.
That sounds good. Fill up some drink bottles, man. Nice stretch, brother.
How you guys doing?
We're doing great. This is awesome.
Dude, this is a great day. How was last night? We'll catch up with you, but
Yeah, it's been an amazing road this morning for sure. Yesterday was a long slog, but yeah, good to be here. We're gonna eat.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. Where'd you guys stayed in Yetna?
You got to Yetna. I bivvied out.
Oh, dude, that's serious, man.
Oh, it was actually nice.
Good night.
But then, because I got some nice quiet sleep by myself, and then I woke up early and rolled into Yetna and had breakfast and chilled for a while, dried out.
Everything was a revolting last night. That's just such a long ride. I think we were pedaling for, I was anyway, 10 to 12 hours to get there. You know, and there's no support anywhere, so you're just out there on the river and you get lonely. Where's Yetna? Where's Yetna? Now we're getting into it. Sweet.
You won't be there.
Long push last night. Got in there, stayed a little longer than I would have liked, but I dried all my clothes except for my shoes. They're still soaking wet. Got a lot colder last night than we were expecting. They had minus 24 and I came in there freezing, but I got turned around, got some coffee, sat up in the balcony where all the heat was, hung up my clothes and took off at 11, hoping to get to the next aid station by 9 o'clock. So cheers, we're out of here.
The trail all the way to McGrath, really, there were just so many times where I had the thought, if you were organizing a fat bike tour, people paying you, this would be the trail, and this would be the weather, and this would be the sky. There were times it just couldn't be any better. And it was such a joy because that was so not the case the year before. It was cloudy, it was warm, there were storms, ground blizzards. There were just some things that just didn't exist. It was just a beautiful high pressure, cold, great trail frozen solid, so if a snow machine came through or even moose on the trail, it just didn't have a whole lot of effect. To Rainy Pass Lodge was wonderful. You stay in the hunter's cabin that the earth is slowly eating. One of the bunks actually collapsed and almost killed Parker. Literally, it stopped like this far from his head. Hi. And he just got up. He's like, I can't stay here. And he left at 4 in the morning. I didn't see him for another day because he was so spooked he had to get out of there. So that was the deal to Rainy Pass.
I left at like 4:30ish from Finger Lake. It was fun. It was cold. It got really cold up here. When we dropped down to the valley, it got really cold. But the trail's really good still. The Happy Steps weren't too bad.
That's just intentionally mean-spirited because there's no place more inappropriately named than the Happy Steps. It's a wall. It's so steep. Steep enough, I got there by myself and tried to start up the section they call the Happy Steps and made it 3-4 steps. And keep in mind, I've got studded boots on. And it became obvious that I wasn't going to be able to push my bike up the Happy Steps. And I don't know if there's anybody within a couple hours of me. So I have to figure it out.
Heck of a climb up from that river, man. Mightn't look like much, but Jesus, it's hard. Got a ways to go too. Going up on our way to Puntilla.
Is the most inappropriately named place on the planet. Welcome to the Happy Steps. Brutal. And at the same time you're laughing because this is it. This is the adventure. This is what you signed on for, was to be in these kind of situations and have to figure it out. I would say they were the challenge, really, before Rainy Pass.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they call them the Happy Steps. Because once you get here, you're so happy. Happy, happy, happy.
How'd you get up here today?
Walked.
From where?
Kinnick. Or an airplane.
Airplanes work. Just on that walk, dude. Sucks. Well, I would have loved to have gotten in at like 9 o'clock last night and slept till about 3 or 4. But that didn't happen. So now here I am in the middle of the day.
If you left at 3 or 4, that would have put you in the lead.
Yeah.
Are you racing?
Finishing. Yeah, I'm not. It's too early to start racing. There's a lot of stuff can go wrong. A lot.
Okay. That was a hell of a ride today. Beautiful weather. Trail mostly good. From the happy steps to here. No joke, eh, Parker?
I got a little knee problems that are bothering me. Getting showed up by somebody twice my age.
Oh my God. I had to actually unload my bike to get it up a section of the hill. Throw my sleeping bag up over the...
Just too late.
Yeah. I was there by myself. I couldn't get up the hill. What an adventure.
Bikes. Do you realize that there's still 200 miles to go? I can't even fathom that. It's like, it's not a race. You just gotta, you're out there surviving. It's crazy.
Hey, Pup, how are you? How's it going?
Well, I'd ask you the same thing.
Well, my knee's pretty bad.
Oh, how bad?
Real bad.
Can you go on?
I don't know. It's kind of gravitating up around here. Never did that before. I stopped taking so much leave because it was just hurting my stomach. So maybe that's part of it.
Well, you're not in a hurry.
No, I'm not in a hurry.
So you could take some time here? Will you take some time here?
I'll take a little time and try to figure out what I should do.
Leaving the lodge at Puntilla Lake, the trail begins the 18-mile uphill slog to Rainy Pass. From the top of the pass, it's a long downhill trip on the steep and twisting trail through the Dalzell Gorge to the Tatina River and on to Roan, the next checkpoint. From Roan, it's nearly 80 miles to Nikolai, the next village and checkpoint. Frozen river and lake crossings and 40 miles through the Farewell Burn, which see little snow, can make this one of the more difficult legs of the trail. After Nikolai, the trail turns west toward McGrath. Athletes in the ITI are welcome to use the shorter overland route, or if they follow the Kuskokwim River, which the dogs must do, it means adding a dozen or more miles to the trip.
Rainy Pass is just iconic. It can be absolutely brutal as it was last year. Ground blizzard, 30 below, winds. You can't bike, you can't get on your bike, you just fall over, barely able to keep, just as inhospitable as you could possibly imagine. To this year, bluebird sky, trail, mostly great, except for when Kyle came by on his snowmobile. I couldn't help myself, Kyle. I had to get that in there. And the trail got soft and we had to walk for a while. But it was great. You know, there's this sign up on top of Rainy Pass, and it's iconic, and everybody wants their picture because it's the place on the 350 and actually onto the 1000 as well. You say Rainy Pass, everybody that knows anything about that trail knows where you're talking about. It's spectacular. And it became one of those life moments, not a mile or two in this giant bowl. Dave and his pilot come flying by, which was cool enough because I just got to see Dave and I knew he could see me and it was in this perfect place, so I knew the footage would be amazing. And they're flying away and they're going to head out the canyon and everything is amplified. It's the world's greatest amphitheater. Everything is amplified times 100, and I'm just so excited because I got to see Dave and the bush plane, and I'm watching them head out the pass, and it just so loud, and the guy just lays the plane on its side, and it's like you're suddenly in a World War II movie, and here comes the fighter with his machine guns, and I mean, he is taking this thing to the deck, and he is coming right at me. And when I say the deck, I mean, I think on a good day, if I could have stepped off my bike with a rock, I could have hit the plane. It was that close. It was close enough that I could see Dave leaning out the window, smiling. And it's one of the great moments of my life. I by the time they covered that ground 10, 15, 20 seconds, I was bawling inside my goggles.
Top of Rainy Pass here. Left Puntilla Lake down at the Rainy Pass Lodge about 4 a.m. It's about midday now. Just before midday. So yeah, 8 hours up here. It's been a bit of a slog. First thing I did at about 5 a.m. was crossing a creek and thought it was solid and went through the ice and filled up both my boots with water. Filled the sled up with water. Got to the other side and I put my over boots on straight away, just so my feet didn't freeze, so they're still wet. Lucky I kept them on. There's been a couple of other creek crossings further down there coming up, open flow. One of them I had to unload the bag and everything, carry everything across. The overflow in this creek here going at Rainy Pass. Just unloaded the sled just in case the bag and all the gear got wet. So lucky I got my over boots on. With some waterproof. Go over and get the sled. So yeah, you know, only 160 mile into the trip so far, and it's just been a struggle, you know. Every day, you know, you have a little problem. Might seem insignificant at home, but you know, you break a zipper and you just about burst into tears, and you lose a bungee cord and you're just beside yourself. Just lots of lows so far. Bitterly cold at the start, and you know, trying to get used to some gear and having some gear fail and having some doubts and being worried and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's just, to sound cliched, it's just one foot after the other. It's just it's just bloody hard work, I'll tell you what. Anyway, that's the way it is on the Iditarod.
Well, here we are, about 275 miles into this, and it is everything I could have wished for, and then some. Getting the opportunity to see what I'm made of, and actually taking that opportunity. It's just hard to believe the body and mind can do this. I don't know what day we're on, but still going strong and getting stronger every day, I think. Yesterday was a bitch. 25 miles of dragging a sled up and down hills and no snow. We were dragging it on rocks and dirt. It was just nuts. Hardly a lick of snow. And I got behind on water and food, so I started dragging the team down. So they took off. There is a water source on this section somewhere, but I just don't know exactly where it is, and I can't chance running out of water. It takes a lot of snow to make the same amount of water. I got 2 liters. The bridge with the water. Look at this. Crystal clear dipping water. Got my 3 liters now. Just, it's the way it rolls sometimes. Gotta take what the course gives you.
Started in Rome 24 hours ago, so that's about what, 100 and I don't know, 120 miles. I'm on a push. Yeah, from Nikolai. It sucked. And this road, I mean, it's nice, it's a road, but it's like never ending.
What's the temp out here at night? It's a little colder on the river.
How was your ride?
I'm kind of over the all-night riding thing.
Where'd you start?
Nikolai.
Yeah. What time?
Huh?
What time?
10:30, 11ish. Yeah, took me 8.5, a little long, but fatigue got me. So, a lot of people here.
Thank you. Excellent.
Okay, so we got to I would get that back on Royal Cargo because I'm afraid it won't fit. If they have a lot of other stuff on that, it won't get on. Oh, it's a really small plane. We're talking nice.
McGrath's a big deal, as it's the finish of the ITI 350, and the majority of the racers finished there, including Jeff Rock, who pushed his own limits by doing the 350 this year.
How was it?
Remember when I told you there was still 200 miles left in this race? I can't believe they're over. 200 miles since last time I talked to you. Good job, bro. Feet have been wet all day. Oh, does that feel good to have? Oh. You gotta have big dreams and you gotta go after them. If you don't do that, you're selling yourself short. Just happened to work out this time where I got up here and everything worked out, and we had a blast doing it. And getting to run with some other runners kind of put a different perspective on the race. But you know, this race is 350 miles. You're not supposed to be running that hard. Yeah! We got a couple days in and Steve starts saying, you know, we should really be enjoying this more instead of racing. There's no reason we shouldn't take the time to see some of this stuff. I went a mile off trail to go to this cabin just to check it out.
Cool.
And I took a nap in there. I mean, That's 2 miles, so that's in a race this long, does it really matter?
We were wondering why you have how many finishes in Nome? 4?
4. Yeah.
Why are you doing it again?
Why are you asking me this question? I've been asking myself that question for a long time.
Did you do the southern route last year?
I did, and it sucked.
And you're going on the southern route again?
The problem is Joel's been in Nome, and
You have to
the weather's been absolutely atrocious.
In Nome?
Like snain, you know.
Are you looking forward to that?
No, not at all. I hope it's going to be all better.
Well,
yeah, I might stop here, but I don't think Tim would ever talk to me again.
Yeah, well, I think by the time you get to the coast, the weather could completely.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
Very different.
But since I'm a little in the lead now, I gotta.
We'll get some food in there.
Yeah, gotta go for it.
That'd be good.
Man, I've been struggling a bit really right from the start. I had heaps of problems. Had problems with my sled, had problems with these boots, and it was just slow going. My feet are in agony. Anyway, at least to get a warm sleep tonight.
Leaving McGrath becomes another virtual start in the 1,000 miles to Nome. The trail continues to be well used by snow machines west through Takatna and the old mining town of Ophir, but soon after the Ophir checkpoint, the trail splits. The northern route remains well used throughout the winter, but the seldom traveled southern route can disappear until the Iditarod Trail groomers come through to mark and set the trail for the sled dogs. Several cabins offer the only break in this remote section of Alaska as travelers venture through the tundra and hilly plains until reaching the halfway point in the ghost town of Iditarod.
These aren't my words. They're everybody's words that have ever gone to Nome. The race, the adventure starts when you leave McGrath. You will never understand that until you're in the race and you leave McGrath. I wouldn't even begin to try to explain the full gamut of emotions leaving McGrath. It's the true definition of an adventure. You're heading off into the unknown.
I mean, quite honestly, now I'm just really scared. This is, I just don't know what's coming. I hope I'm ready. This is what I've, trained for to see if I have what it takes to go out here now when there's basically, not much. There's like 6 or 7 of us that are going to be on this trail, so I'm excited about it, but I mean, that's what makes it worth doing, like being scared and excited and all of the things that make a challenge worth taking on, right? So it'll feel good to get out there and put this behind me, another 150 miles and I'll have less distance in front of me than I do behind me, and that'll feel really good. But a lot of this gear I haven't had to I've just been toting it to get to this point, so there's going to be a lot of making water and a lot of alone nights. I don't think they'll be lonely. Yesterday the trail really started to make sense and I started to get really quiet in my head, and I look forward to finding that space and even more so it'll be interesting to see what I look like in Nome.
Just leave McGrath finally. It was hard to get away. I spent the night there, long night, big breakfast, big extended breakfast, messed around packing up the sled and everything. Just trying to get motivated. I don't know what it is. I lost some mojo somewhere along the trail back there. Heading to Tecotna, about 20 mile up the trail there. It's snowing. The trail's not too bad. Thank God. I hope I don't get too wet, you know, with this wet snow. There's planes flying out of McGrath over here, so maybe it's just a local system here and it'll clear up later. Just keep plugging away at it. It's about all you can do out here.
I mean, to McGrath, it's not really. I mean, it can be really hard, but it's all starts at McGrath. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really matter what happens until the McGrath.
If you think you're comfortable being uncomfortable going to McGrath, you're comfortable being uncomfortable. Exponentially it increases going to Nome. So you better be very comfortable being very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Because it changes.
Yeah.
That's the difference, and that's the thing I think people don't realize is you're never comfortable. You're always got something going on. It just gets worse.
After Ophir, the north and south routes of the Iditarod Trail split. The north, a well-used snow machine trail between villages. The south, only groomed for the Iditarod Trail every other year. So if you beat the sled dog race, you're traveling through virgin snow and having to do some route finding on your own to reach the shelter cabins, located about 20 to 30 miles apart. I decided to hole up in Don's cabin after backtracking in a storm that saw what trail there was blow shut. I only had to wait a day for the Iditarod Trail groomers to make their way through and set the trail.
So no, our main goal is to put in a safe trail for people to use, for the dogs to use. As far as, and when I say that, any open leads of water we come across, we'll build bridges, snow bridges. A lot of times we'll knock a tree down, span the open water, and then put the spruce boughs on top of that, and then shovel snow and water on top of the spruce boughs and make a bridge.
Well, I'll let you get back to work, and I know there's some cyclists ahead of you that will be really happy when you go by.
Well, that can be a catch-22 too, as well, because when we go through, it softens it up, and it usually takes a day or two for the cold weather to set the trail up. So
there was some riding after the trail breakers came through, but not long after the trail started to set up, a few snow machines came through, and one moment you were certain the 27 miles was going to take 6 or 7 hours, and the next moment it became 2 or 3 times that. So how do you deal with that? How do you reconcile that? And for the next almost the next 2 weeks, that became the reality. Good trail, good weather, bad weather. I said good trail. There really wasn't much good trail for a long time, especially into Iditarod.
And this is why you don't wake up on the Iditarod Trail expecting a trail. Because if you were planning on riding, this would bend your mind in half. Ooh, dog. See that landscape behind me that goes forever? We just walked across that and about 5 times further. These damn things called tussocks. These things right here. Hasn't been any snow up in this barren part of the trail. So you can either ride those, let the fillings get knocked out of your teeth, or you can enjoy yourself a little winter walk. We'll see what happens finally found some snow. Maybe we'll have some trail to ride. We would party like rock stars if we got to Iditarod, which is 50 miles away. That'd put us halfway down the trail. Quite an accomplishment. Nice night in the Tolstoy cabin last night. All systems feel pretty good. That walk actually was good for the soul. Good reminder that great trail is a gift.
How'd you like the tussocks? I've heard nothing but horror stories about the tussocks.
It wasn't too bad.
You didn't?
No. We walked on tussocks and
Push the
4
bike.
years ago. You have to just accept it and then just push your bike. There's like no way around it. But once you accept it, we had a pretty good day. It was like
I had a great day.
miles.
We had a great
We
day.
was talking all time.
BSing the whole time. You can't talk when you're riding on this other stuff. There's not enough, you can't. You're concentrating. You're not talking. So that time we were just BSing all the way.
So,
I think I'd rather walk on the tussocks. I think the tussocks. I expend way less energy on the tussocks than I do on a freshly groomed trail by a snow machine that I'm post holing up to my mid calf in.
Where'd you find that?
Everywhere that we were walking up out there. I mean, all the way from Ophir Junction to Moose Creek Cabin.
Yeah,
was pretty much post holing, and then from Dawn Cabins we rode from Dawn's cabin a little bit. It's set up.
Almost to Moose Creek. Yeah.
Then from Moose Creek to Iditarod was tussock, which was a welcoming retreat, welcoming reprieve from post holing, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. I don't know what this stuff is, must keg or something. It's fucking soul destroying. Done about, I don't know, fucking 15 miles and oh my god. I've no idea when it's gonna end. It's fucking raining now, beauty. So fucking hard pulling the sled across this shit, it's unbelievable. Just waiting for something to break. Probably me back first.
Fuck!
My God. That was a half mile of the most god-awful, beautifully challenging tussock field that Mother Nature ever hatched. What an amazing day. What an amazing 3 or 4 days. I don't even know how long we've been walking. I can see the roofs of Iditarod ahead. I've never been so happy to see an abandoned town in all my life. 7 hours, 13 miles. How you like them apples?
Well, I finally made it to Iditarod. My God, what a day. Coming over that tussock grass or muskeg, whatever you call it. Holy moly. I'm absolutely beat. It was only 15 miles, it seemed like 50. I was doing about like 1 mile an hour there. So I got here and found out my drop bag's not here. I'm absolutely fucking bummed. There's some bits and pieces there, but you know, I was looking forward to coffee and shit like that. Can't believe it. I don't know what happened to it. People just thought I weren't coming or what. So this is the Iditarod River here. Tomorrow I'm going to go up that range there, over there towards Skagaluk. See how it goes. Broke a snowshoe today. My sled is an absolute disaster. Sort of really bummed, kind of depressed. But these guys here just finished looking after the dog race, let me stay in this musher's cabin here tonight, so I'm going to take full advantage of that, get some rest and cook a couple of hot meals and stuff. Ready to stop for today. I'll have a good feed here and a good sleep, and you know, get up when it's light tomorrow and head out to the range there. Next stop, probably Big Yet in the cabin, and then after that Shagaluk, and then across to Anvik and Grayling, and then the next big challenge will be the Yukon River. If I'm still with it, then my God, I'm just like struggling every day as usual. I hate to piss and moan about it, but fuck, there's not a lot has gone right for me since the start. But I'll see. You know, I'll just keep trucking on and see how it goes. It's all good.
Leaving the once booming gold rush town of Iditarod, the trail becomes more reliable as it sees intervillage traffic before it drops onto the Yukon River. The Yukon is a 120-mile stretch with only one checkpoint at Eagle Island. Finally, the village of Kaltag is a welcome refueling point with a small grocery store and a school where travelers rest and dry off before turning west for the next 85 miles over the Kaltag Portage and on to the Bering Sea village of Unalakleet and Peace on Earth pizza.
How about the Yukon?
Sucked.
That was probably the worst part. That was a nightmare.
Why?
Because of the overflow. Overflow, and there's no way to. It was too warm, so everything was soft. Even trail that would be rideable and had no overflow was not rideable because it was so warm. Even overnight, it was so soft, and everything else was just pushing, like knee deep, calf deep. We pushed for 40 miles, like pushed through that slush. And it was like super awful. Super awful.
Day 12? I don't know. But it feels as if I've crossed the void of my own soul. The reason I come to these places and do these things. There's a point in every expedition I do, every test, where I know that's coming, and last night it was it. You're always at the whim here. Doesn't matter how tough you are. If at any point this place decides to dump snow or blow hell wind, you're done. Whew. I'm just outside of Eagle Island. I think it's Eagle Island. It might be Easter Island. What a day on the Yukon. I'm in almost a whiteout on the Yukon River. Into a headwind. And there's nothing here. It's another 50 to 60 miles. But the weather can change in an instant here. My real concern is whether or not this snow really builds up and makes the trail unrideable. So we'll stay on the pedals as long as we can on the way to Eagle Island. Winds eventually blowing down the river 20 some miles an hour. Some 14 years ago was the last time I was on this river, and it almost killed me. To be here now, the winds have died halfway through the stretch. One of the more challenging stretches of the whole race, 100 miles, 120 miles up the Yukon. I don't know if I can make this. That's the simple truth.
That big eagle's nest up there, it's full of snow by the looks of it now. He's probably down south or something. It's got a nice view over the head of this creek here. It's coming north on the Yukon. That's looking south, that's where I come from. Done about 20 miles though. Hope to do about the same before I bivvy tonight. It's been a pretty good trail today, most of the way. Been some soft stuff, so I've got my snowshoes back on. But making pretty good time, thank goodness. I think I got 50 mile to Caltag or something on this 120 mile stretch, so feeling pretty good about that. Got another bivvy tonight somewhere. I'll try and go as long as I can tonight. So I just stopped, set up my bivvy, got my little tent going here. It's my minus 40 bag. Crawl in there tonight and get some sleep. Cozy in here.
Oh my gosh, I've been waiting so long to see you.
Oh my God, those last 200 miles, David. Fuck. Dave, I feel like I've been to, I feel like I've been to hell. And so many rivers and blown in trails. Oh my God. So many cuss words. Oh, sometimes they just came out like machine guns. There was a stretch on the Yukon where all of a sudden it just blew closed. I was so scared, I was just screaming. I was like, I am definitely wolf bait. If there's anything around here, they're like, oh, there's the weak one. We cut him out of the herd. Probably the only thing saved me is I don't have any meat on my bones anymore. They're like, that's not even worth the effort. He's not even worth eating. Let's wait for a fat one. Oh, O-P-E-N. Joy, joy, joy. I hope they got a special shipment of everything in, because I'm not leaving until morning. Have you been to the school yet?
Nope.
We can stay there.
One restaurant, Peace on Earth Pizza in Unalakleet. It's definitely a favorite with the racers to get to Unalakleet to have pizza there.
Brett Lee Hansen is my name. I am the owner and creator of Peace on Earth, which is a restaurant and music company and a place to go have just that, Peace on Earth. Yeah, the walkers and the bikers and the people that were putting it all together and have come through. Some of them have come through many times. So it's like seeing old friends when everybody comes through, you know, and they come and they have a place that they can get in that's warm, and then we make them some food, and then they can either rest or head out. And that one, they resupply here too now, and a lot of people that have done it before, they just mail it right to us now, and that way they know when they get here they can either knock on the door at the house and we'll come and open if they're here at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning if they happen to be walking at that time.
Did you say burger? Yeah. Oh God, I didn't know that. I'm still having a cheeseburger tonight.
I get one with French.
Sure can. This place is so wrong. Like, it's not peace on earth. It's heaven. It's heaven on earth.
Over the course of the next 24 hours that I made myself terribly sick between the grease and the volume. My stomach, my body was in no way to handle it. And the Iditarod Trail is just not a good place to have to pull your pants down every 15 minutes.
It'd just be too easy a joke to say this really is the shits. God. The pizza and the cheeseburger sounded so good, dude, but obviously my body is like, just eating so much food when you hadn't been able to, like eat very much for 2.5 weeks. I wonder if that just like threw everything into a tailspin, or if maybe the salad did me in. I don't know. But man, to be so close and having to sit here in this apartment, it's just my ego messing with me that I want to get there fast. I've got 11 days to get to Nome. Got to accept what the trail brings. So hopefully the Imodium does its job and I can get back in the game sooner than later.
I took some Imodium and it boomeranged me. It dried me up times 10 and I became just incredibly bloated. Nothing would move and I just laid in a ball for what seemed like forever. I think a half a day through the night. Never, so painful.
Man, just touching my abdomen feels like a guitar string that's tuned like 8 freaking things too tight. I just feel desperate, man. I feel like I'm gonna get stuck here and then the fucking weather's gonna change and then I'm gonna be fucked. So close to my goal. If I could just get a little relief to where I could just hop on my bike for a mile down the street and a mile back to just see what it feels like.
While I was dealing with my own intestinal issues in Unalakleet, Bayat, the lead runner, had made his way over the Kaltag Portage, which has linked Alaska's interior and the Yukon River to the Bering Sea for hundreds of years. Bayat's first stop was for pizza and his drop box at Peace on Earth, then grabbed a few hours of sleep in the apartment Dave and I were staying in before leaving just after midnight.
23 degrees right now.
Okay. A little on the warm side, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sleep in that?
Yeah, not too bad. Easy. Let's get the show started.
Be safe.
Thanks.
Enjoy. We'll see you in Nome.
Let's hope so.
Thank God for coffee. Doctor friend told me to start moving and start drinking coffee, and I could barely move. I was just walking around the inside of the apartment there in the village that we were able to stay at. I could barely put one foot in front of the other, but eventually it wore off, and it may have even been harder leaving there after a day and a half than it was leaving McGrath.
So give me a last 250 mile speech.
I got nothing, dude. I just want to go to Nome. And then I want to go home. So, hopefully I'll see you soon.
From the sea-level town of Unalakleet, the trail climbs 1,000 feet into the Blueberry Hills and the first of many shelter cabins. Then it's back down to sea level to the one-road town of Shaktoolik. Heading north, the trail begins the 50-mile crossing over the frozen Bering Sea to the village of Koyuk. An alternative overland route exists for times when the sea ice is unreliable. From Koyuk, the trail heads west through the hills and over what many call the toughest climb on the second half of the trail, up the 1,000-foot Little McKinley Mountain. From there, it's back down to the Bering Sea and across another stretch of ice before more hills up to White Mountain, the last village on the trail. The route then turns back toward the shores of the Bering Sea, through the challenging Topcock Hills and across the dangerous Blowhole, which is often scoured by hurricane-force winds. It is considered the last great challenge before reaching the Burled Arch finish in Nome.
Leaving Unalakleet was almost exactly like leaving McGrath. All the voices that you'd gotten so good at quieting down were all of a sudden awake again. You shouldn't leave. You're going to get sick. The trail's hard enough without doing it with your... It's safe back there. You've still got extra time. So you have to start turning off all the stations that are playing the music that you don't want to hear. And I just set a mental note of 10 miles. I wouldn't think about Unalakleet until I got 10 miles away.
What a sight. What a beautiful day. Lord of mercy, did I need one. I mean, we're not home free yet, but Jesus, I needed Alaska to play nice. So far today she has.
It's a Bering Sea down here. See the sea ice. Well, maybe I can see it from here. I'm just heading north here, north of Unalakleet, heading up to Shaktoolik before the sea ice crossing over Koyuk. Stop at a cabin tonight down here somewhere about 10 miles ahead and get some rest. Been a heavy schedule last few days. Yeah, try and make Shaktoolik tomorrow and you know, stage there, wait for a weather window that looks decent and get out across about 40 miles of sea ice, crosses over the bay there to the north shore. Usually get northerly winds, you know, cold blowing, and doesn't seem like much fun, but it's got to be done, so I just want to get it out of the way. But tonight, Foothills cabin down there somewhere.
We didn't know what the ice was like, you know, up in, was that Norton Bay or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, is it gone? Did it leave?
There's not,
with
there's
the
water. You can see water.
It just, I think they
scary?
No.
Overflow water or water?
Water.
No, water.
I mean, we saw the barricade of broken up ice on the left side. This is how close the trail. I mean, they barely. I think they looked at the satellite images and then how they picked the route. So they were just paralleling that, you know, open water.
Did you go look? He's like, no. I'm like, I'm not going up there.
But I was going closer and closer. I wasn't going to take a look because it was like turning this way. So I was trying to, you know, cut it short.
Yeah.
Well, we asked the local. I went in Shaktoolik. I specifically went up and asked 3 different guys that were locals and said, I get the Iditarod that dog says have to follow the markers that are set. I don't. Is there a route that is takes you across the ice to avoid this overland extra mileage route. All 3 of them said, do not do it.
Really?
You may end up floating away on a piece of, one guy said you may float away on a piece of ice. Because him and I were having this discussion about, and I said, I'm going to find out. I'm just going to ask the local guys. And I walked up to him afterwards and I was like, Peter, I'm following the route, period. I had 3 local guys say, don't do it. And it's like, okay, you listen.
Just heading north. Left Shaktoolik this morning. Actually left it twice. Had a heck of a start. I slept at the school there last night and got up early and got out of town and got lost out on the frozen sound there. Couldn't see any markers. Trail got blown in and dwindled out. I wandered around for a few hours and then I was so angry and so frustrated I just turned around and went back to Shaktoolik and bivvied on the front porch of the school there. I didn't care if I slept for an hour or 10 hours. I just needed to rest up then, and I thought when I wake up I'll see how I feel. It's kind of one of them moments where you're just like, fuck it, I'm done with this. So frustrating. Anyway, I slept for a couple of hours, got going about 10. Went back onto the sound again. Had a hell of a time finding any markers and wandered around again and finally seen one off in the distance after a couple of snow machines went past and kind of followed in that direction and finally found the trail and been on it for about 10 miles now. I had plans of making it across the Bering Sea sea ice today over to Koyasuk, getting that major crux of the leg out of the way, but that ain't going to happen, so I'm going to head up to this cabin here. I think it's about another 5 mile.
And then there was the grizzly bear. I fortunately didn't see the grizzly bear, but Peter from Germany, tough old bird, 62 years old. He was maybe 2 miles ahead of me and had a snow machine come out and circle him 2 or 3 times. And so the guy pulled up to Peter and said, everything okay? And Peter's like, well, yeah, mostly. I mean, trail kind of sucks, but yeah, I'm all right. Why? He's like, I just wondered if you've seen the grizzly bear that's a quarter mile from you. They never remembered a grizzly bear being up so early. But a grizzly bear is only up because he's starving and it's time to eat. And so there were the sea otters or sea lions or whatever the heck was out on the ice, and they certainly weren't going to stick around. They just jump in the water. So the only other thing to eat out there was Peter or I. And thank goodness for this villager. He heard there was a grizzly out on the sea ice, and he knew from the spot trackers that there were 2 bikers out there, and he came out and he said, you head west towards Koyuk and I'll take that bear as far to the east as I can. And Peter watched him chase that bear across the ice and start shooting high-powered rifle shots over his head and pushed him as far away as he could. But I don't think Peter or I forgot about that for the next 2 or 3 days when you're in the middle of those mountains by yourself and you're pushing your bike.
Getting off the ice and into Koyuk was cause for celebration. I got to the school about 2:30 in the morning and was so excited I had to call Dave. I couldn't believe he answered, but he was in Nome having his own adventure with the Mushers crew.
In Nome, I was staying with Iditarod Musher Victoria Hartwig's crew. On Sunday night, the same night that Kanjo arrived in Koyuk, Richard Addy, Victoria's boyfriend and crew chief, received a text from her saying that it was frigid cold and that her dogs had quit. She couldn't get them to move, and she was beginning to worry about the cold, as it was in the teens below zero, and that we might need to arrange an overnight rescue. We were up most of the night talking to the Iditarod race director, trying to arrange snowmobile or helicopter rescue if needed. So yes, I was up when Kanjo called from Koyuk. Thankfully, Victoria was able to lead her dogs a couple of miles to the Topcock cabin for shelter that night, and she made it to Nome the next day, earning the Red Lantern.
14 days, 22 hours, 51 minutes, and 49 seconds. We got here in half the time that it took me. Congratulations.
From Koyuk, we rolled west through the hills to Elam, then up and over Little McKinley, which offered some amazing views.
What a climb. Yeah. To the top of Little McKinley with my new great friend, Peter from Germany. One of the highest, most breathtaking views of the entire race. Well, it would seem we were premature in our thoughts that we had crossed over Little McKinley. That should be the crest, and then back down to Golovin.
We had a short jaunt of some sea ice through Golovin and up to White Mountain, our final village of the journey. It was here, 77 miles from the finish, that I realized you're never done until you're done.
It appeared I would be riding a 20-mile-an-hour tailwind to Topcock Cabin, but just there, over my right shoulder, the route goes overland, and on top of that riverbank the wind is howling and the trail is starting to blow in, and I am not crossing that by myself. So I am backtracking to my friends from Denmark, hoping they will make a little room for me in their camp. Alaska throws me another curveball. Just up around the corner, the trail goes up off the river and goes overland to Topcock. The wind is howling and the trail is basically blowing closed. It's not completely closed yet, but I would be walking for probably 7 hours to get there. Mind if I share camp? Yes. Thank you. The trail is hard, but it's drifting and it's 18 miles. That would be me walking by myself through the night, and I don't want to be out there by myself out there.
Once we left the riverbank, and the mushers, they wanted to hang and I wanted to hang with them, but they couldn't keep the dogs that slow, and again, it was almost like a mini checkpoint. I'd become so self-sufficient and so dependent on just me that hanging around those guys for even 12 hours, eventually when we had to part ways, it was just the straw that almost broke my back. The storm was still raging, it was blowing, visibility was shit, and we were just getting ready to go into the hills. Wasn't even the tough part of it. Going into the hills, it was just gonna get worse. And I remember asking Sebastian, like, do you think I can make it? Do you think I have what it takes? Like, this storm's got me spooked, man. I could remember promising my mom. She's like, I don't care if you do this stuff, just, you can't come home dead. And thinking like, man, I might actually be going into a storm where that's a possibility. You know, Sebastian just looked at me and said, depends where your head's at, man. There were 7 big hills to get to the Topcock Cabin, so one piece of wood lath at a time, I just kept moving forward.
She's giving it all to us today, folks. My God. We're in the Topcock Hills. I am equal parts exhilarated and freaking terrified. Looking out over the Bering Sea, which means I hope and pray the Topcock Cabin is near. that tracker. Actually, so close to quitting. Closer than I could have ever imagined I could be. But I think we've made it.
I'd say we had to stop ourselves from saying, let's push this to win this, because we had conversations where like, it changes, man. Like 20 minutes later it changes, right. And then you're back to like walking. And so I think we both wanted to win at one point. I think that we I mean, I'll admit it. I mean, I was like, okay, we're going to win this thing. We're going to go for it. It was an added stress.
It was.
It was an added stress for me thinking about winning. Shall we do it, Peter, without a E? Do I regret that? No, it's just a different way of doing things. I still think I would have gone just as hard as I would have gone before, but now I had a little stress of wanting to win. But it was interesting because him and I would get into that. Sometimes we'd hit that and be like, "Stop, dude! It's too early. It's too early to start talking about. You can't roll out of McGrath to win this race.
Right, that's a long way.
You don't leave McGrath trying to win this race. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You don't
can do your best and push hard, but no, you don't think about winning
at that point.
No.
Maybe when you hit the street down there where it's plowed.
That's about what I mean.
Yeah,
it's about safety.
Right.
About safety. In safety, we're like, okay, let's ride this thing out. We got to finish this up. But yeah, I would say I was in it to win it at one point, but him and I fought that urge to commit to winning. I did.
Yeah.
Multiple times because it's like, you shut down.
Yeah.
The race started in Iditarod again.
What's our mileage there? Peter, without an E? What's our trip mileage?
983.
Let's ride up the top.
Hey!
Hey!
Yeah.
Hey, brother.
Step across.
Yeah.
Okay. Go. Dude.
Thank you.
Hey. How you guys doing?
And the question is, how are you?
We're glad to be done.
Nice job, mate.
Welcome
home. How's that finish line feel?
Welcome to Nome. Yeah, awesome, mate. Yeah, look really good. Good to have closure, but good to have closure on 4 finishes to Nome. So it's two south routes, 2 north routes, and consecutive years. So, it's a big thing to me and all the supporters back home, the family. So.
Over this, I would have lit it on fire and came in here with a burning sled. How cool would that have been? Awesome. The worst part was the blowhole, that's for sure.
Steve said when you left, God, it just really bugs me Bayot's ahead of me. But he never caught you.
No, now he won't. I don't know.
You don't think he'll catch you now?
No, I don't know if he's even gonna come here tomorrow.
Really, that bad? Yeah, don't tell me that.
If the wind is similar to this, you gotta be careful. I mean, he needs to be really careful. This is no joke. Really no joke.
It's no joke around here.
There is Yeah, it flipped over my sled. That's some pretty dangerous conditions. That was the worst wind I've ever been in. That was scary. And it's not, it's not steady. Right. It's gusty and it's relentless. It just
Otherwise, it's just the hip strap.
for 20 miles. Like it let up.
It's actually Velcro. I just didn't do it yet.
Basically at safety.
Behind me is the Bering Sea. We've got across the blowhole, which is cause for joy. But on my handlebars there's the word measured. Tim Hewitt said it was the quality advice he would give to anyone that tried this trail is to be measured. And it has been my mantra.
What somebody's first time, what is your one thing that they need to know?
To stay measured, I would say.
That is a road. And I don't know what shape it's in. But where there's a road, soon there will be civilization. But for now, still measured. Eventually I'd see Nome in the distance, and I wouldn't let myself believe it. I mean, I knew it was Nome, but I wouldn't let myself actually say, I'm there, I'm home free. You're just such a robot by that point. You're so trained in the mind that until I put my foot down in Nome, I wasn't in Nome.
That is the dumbest thing I have ever done in my life.
Yep.
Welcome to Nome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I admire your tenacity.
The stretch through the Topcock Hills, I was within an eyelash of calling in a rescue. I've never been so scared in my life. It was horrible.
And your patch, 1,000 miles.
What is it?
This party forever.
Deal. I'm in.
Here we are on the Topcock Hills, west of White Mountain. Not much out here for the real estate developers. Just got to keep going west. Nome's over there somewhere. I don't know, 70 miles. Still a long way to go in this sort of territory. Woo. Well, I'm in safety finally. It's the last official checkpoint on the Iditarod Trail before Nome. Got about 21 miles to go. I think that might be Cape Nome over there. Nome's around the other side. The end, the finish. Hard to believe, really. I mean, it's going to take me a bunch of hours, probably 7 or 8 hours to get there still, but hope to get there today, tonight sometime, maybe 11 o'clock. Woo! Woo! 1 fucking mile to go. Can't believe it. That's Nome down there. Well, there it is, Nome. Been waiting for this for nearly 1,000 miles and it's less than a mile away. Can hardly believe it. Even a few days ago I wouldn't even believe I'd be here today. It's been a long, tough trip. You know, I guess it brings out those primal things about needing shelter and warmth and food, companionship, things like that. I don't know why the heck people do this sort of stuff sometimes, you know, in the 21st century when you've got every comfort and amenity you can imagine, but, you know, it just takes you back to the roots. And for me it's just curiosity, you know, what's over the horizon. I just got to see, you know, whether I can get over that mountain or through that storm or whatever it is.
Woo! Woohoo!
On the deck case, man. Jerry, I hope you're recording. Could you record this for us? We'll see. Anyway, I'd like to dedicate this song to my friend Steve Cannon, who raced in the Iditarod this year. You guys know the Iditarod? The race 1,000 miles in the frigid cold of Alaska. I'll dedicate it to Steve and anyone else here who did the Iditarod. But Steve did it on a bicycle.
I've been lost and I've been found, inside out and upside down, right and wrong side of the tracks. Feels so good now to be back, to hear you say, welcome home, welcome home. It's good to see you. Welcome home. And I've been here and I've been there. I've been almost everywhere. And I've been near and I've been far. Boats and planes and trains and cars. To hear you say, welcome home. Welcome home, it's good to see you. Welcome home. I can almost feel you breathe, like you're standing next to me. Lets me know that you're alive. So tell me what you need, take this here from me, so I'll know that you're all right. I've been lost, cold and alone, 1,000 miles Anchorage to Nome. The Yukon River and the rainy pass, the Alaskan range can kick your ass. Do you hear them say, welcome home, welcome home. It's good to see you. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. It's good to see you. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. singing this song called Alaska.